Welcome to all of you. We are here to celebrate the life of Dr. S.D. Singh, Principal Scindia School and Housemaster Doon School. It's indeed a pleasure to have all of you together on this call. We have old boys from Doon School. We have teachers from Scindia School, member board of governors of Scindia School, and we have students of Dr. S.D. Singh. We have put together a very comprehensive agenda for this event. We have put it in 3 different sections. The first section is for the Doon School old boys. They would pay their tributes and share their memories of Dr. Singh. Then we have Scindia School board members and teachers presenting their memories about Dr. Singh. And then we have Scindia School students, old boys, school captains of his era, which expanded from 1978 to 1994. As you all know, Dr. Singh has had an incredible career in the education sector. It was nearly 40 years of service to the education and administration of a school. So here we are. Before we start the actual agenda of the afternoon, I would like to request you all to observe 1 minute silence in the memory of Dr. Singh. Here in Pune, we will pay our floral tributes to Dr. Singh. Here in the room, I have some of the old boys from the school. I would request them to join me in paying the floral tribute. Thank you very much. So let's start the proceedings of the day. As you can see here, there is a beautiful picture of Dr. Singh, late King Birendra, and our current chairman of Board of Governors, His Highness Maharaja Jyotiraditya Scindia. This is a very old picture. Probably it is of 1987, 88, when we were in the school. We have a message from our Chairman Board of Governors, which I would like to read out for you. This message was sent out this morning. As we all come together today to celebrate the life and teachings of late Dr. S.D. Singh, former principal, the Scindia School, and housemaster, the Doon School, we must remember his infectious dynamism, his love for innovative ideas, and his ability to bring out the best in his students. As one of the most respected and loved principals, his unforgettable wisdom and immortal words will continue to inspire generations of the Scindia School. It was his clear determination and zeal that helped the Scindia School in holding its fort as the leader in the Indian education sector, and also helped in all-round development of the school as well as the students. Besides, my father and Dr. Singh shared a warm relationship. We meet only a few like Dr. Singh in the entirety of our lifetime. He will be remembered as someone who left a deep impact on many lives. I extend my deepest condolences. May God comfort his family members at this time of great loss. Jyotiraditya M. Scindia. Let's move to the next section of today's event. This is a series of photographs that we are presenting, and these are photographs of Dr. Singh's early life. Thanks to Mr. Praveen Singh, son of Dr. Singh, for sharing this with me, these pictures. And thanks to Aparajita for putting a video of these pictures. In the background, you will also hear the Doon school song as we play. So that was Dr. Singh's early life, some of the pictures that you see there, some of the photographs. I'm sure we had never seen it when we were in Scindia School. So thank you, Praveen Singh, sir, for sharing it with us. Now, we enter into the Doon School section of today's celebration of Dr. Singh's life. I would like to request our first speaker, Gautam Sengupta, to say a few words. Gautam Sengupta is House Captain, 1971 batch, Hyderabad House. Thank you.
Thanks. First of all, my pranam to Mr. S.D. Singh, sir, family, my classmate and friend Praveen, and others, and our deepest condolences on their loss. And thanks to Rajiv and all the others for providing me this opportunity to pay homage on behalf of my classmates and of my housemates. I joined school Doon in 1967 and had my first acquaintance with Sir as he taught us English. I remember him as a teacher, but not just English. He taught us and me many things. I used to marvel at his attire, always impeccably dressed, mostly in a suit, with a waistcoat when Dehradun turned really cold in the winter months, and always in polished, shiny shoes. He was a role model in more ways than one. One of them is surely that I too never leave my house in scuffed shoes. Always polished, a mark of respect that I learned from Sir towards all that I would encounter in the course of the day. Many will say, that's a small thing, but it's not. I believe it was an integral part of my character building. Years later, Sir was my housemaster in Hyderabad House, HB, and I grew to be second head of my house in my SC year, that's 1971. Sir would come visiting, post lights out, to see if all was right with the boys in his house. And of course, it wasn't always. So when his impending visit was given away by the sharp barks of his white pom walking across the main field towards the house, I would often get into action, checking from room to room to see that the boys were in bed, apparently asleep, signaling that all's well with the world. One day he called me home and he said it was nice I was doing this, indicating that he may have seen me when he shouldn't have really, and told me he'd still keep coming because he quite enjoyed these late night walks, and said he appreciated the help to see that all was well. It wasn't a firing. My most important meeting with Sir was a few days before I left school, after the SC exams, before Golden Night. Being called home by the housemaster was never a pleasant thought, and thoughts of what I may have done wrong and been caught doing wrong flooded my mind. He greeted me, sat me down, offered me some coffee, and then he said something like, "You're growing up. You will go to college soon. You will then be a part of the workforce. In that process, you will begin to distinguish between what is right and what is wrong, and what is good and what is bad. Choose the path you must, but choose wisely." These words have remained with me, the words of a father to his son. That's what he was. He was like a father. We never called him teacher. More than 50 years later, when my batchmates, my classmates, and I sit together and speak of him and others, they are always master or sir. That's the respect we continue to hold Sir in. May he be at peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Gautam. Thank you very much for your words. Very nice of you to join this. This is for everyone. Dr. Singh was born on 8th August 1925. He joined Birla Vidhya Mandir in the early 50s. And in 1955, Dr. Singh joined Doon School. And Dr. Singh became the housemaster of Hyderabad House in 1971. Usually it's 11 years tenure at Doon School of Housemastership. But in 1978, Scindia School was lucky to have him as the principal. He spent around 40 years of his life in active education out of his 98 years of his life. So next we have very interesting speaker. We have Rajbir Singh. He was second captain, Jaipur House, 1971. Rajbir, are you there? Because I know you were having some challenges in joining. Otherwise, we will move to Vineet. I can see Vineet there. Vineet, do you want to take on your section?
Sure, I'm ready. Can you hear me?
Yes, Vineet, we can hear you loud and clear. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, the first thing I learned today was not part of my speech was to Sir. August 8th, 1991 was when my daughter was born. So with that sort of sidebar, it's an honor to be here before you with the opportunity to speak about Dr. Singh. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Vinit Khanna, Doon School batch of 74. Between my two brothers and myself, Dr. Singh was connected to our family for the longest. Dr. Singh in a classic in loco parentis position, in no uncertain terms to my father that Vinit, Dhruv, and Nalin were his sons for 8 months of the year, and he would let Tishi, my life and mother to his own biological children, while he was a father to 60 odd of us, 24/7, 8 months a year. Mrs. SD would give lychee squash and snacks to the hungry boys who had the temerity to visit Dr. Singh's home and would come out feeling great, kicking themselves for being funked about disturbing Dr. Singh. She was that quiet anchor, most unobtrusively making sure her energies would be focused on us, largely privileged brats, while she kept the home fires burning. She is equally to be honored and missed. Back now to Dr. Singh, I share with you an incident that stands out very distinctly in my memory that exemplifies the kind of man Dr. Singh was. One August, all the A-formers, which is class 10, 15-year-olds at Doon, were planting trees on a hillside at Jhari Pani, a village on the Dehradun-Mussoorie road. Shortly after we got there, the monsoon rains came buck down. While the fun-loving of us took it as an opportunity to throw mud at each other, many of us started to complain and wanted to slack off in a shelter. We looked around and saw Dr. Singh standing by our sides with his feet firmly planted, tasked with supervising the boys and armed with nothing but an umbrella, providing scant protection as the wind whipped the rain on him. Dr. Singh saw to it that we got the job done. He was there with us in the trenches, the type of man who was not afraid to get his hands dirty, fighting along his wards, battling in the foxholes. It is not easy by any means to be a boarding school housemaster dealing in a single-sex school where you have 16 teenage boys with raging hormones as your wards. But while Dr. Singh commanded us with his presence, he also taught us how to earn the respect of others and gave us room to grow, cutting slack as and when he thought best. I share a couple of personal stories in this context. One evening post-dinner at what was known as toy time at Doon, Dr. Singh came by the house to check on things, happened upon my study to find me illegally boiling water, which in this case was via a jury-rigged immersion rod made of a shaving blade, a key, and wires, with the water container being a metal mug. There was nothing more than an eraser between the blade, the key, and the beer mug to prevent me from blowing up the electrical circuits in the building. He looked at me, house captain at the time, paused as we made eye contact, raised his eyebrows, and looked away. He didn't need to bring it up ever. He knew I had received the message. Similarly, when I received a bad hit from O.P. Malhotra for not performing well in a maths test, I stood sheepishly before Dr. Singh, waiting for him to sign the same. Before I could utter any of the dozen excuses at the tip of my tongue, he looked at me over his glasses, signed my chit, his expression making it quite clear he did not expect me to ever be in that situation again. And he was right. He never did. Dr. Singh placed his trust and responsibility on my shoulders when he made me house captain over another very qualified contender, Akbar Hussain. And it was this confidence that I retained as I later became a global entrepreneur, never afraid to step away from the beaten path. To this day, 65 years young, I remain on the go with my spirit for hard work and play thrown in. The 30 days starting the 4th of July of this year will have seen me in 8 cities across 5 countries, working on multiple projects, yet managing 6 rounds of golf in 3 of those 5 countries. In closing, to sum up my views of how Dr. Singh looked upon us, and taking poetic license from the words of Miss Jean Brodie, with credit to J. Preston Allen, who wrote the play. Boys, I am in the business of putting old heads on young shoulders. All my pupils are the creme de la creme. Give me a boy at an impressionable age, and he is mine for life. Dr. Singh, I humbly remain yours forever.
Rajiv ji, I'm there.
Thank you, Rajbir. So why don't we have you next? Thank you, Vineet, for that touching memories that you brought out. Over to you, Rajbir.
Dr. Singh's memory will always be etched in the northernmost part of my heart. I loved him dearly. He was always immaculately dressed, and he had this winning, mischievous smile about him. And my fondest memory of Dr. Singh was in the English class when he taught us about John Laputa and the Zulu tribes in Prester John. Those were the most happy classes of my school life. He would read the book and, modulating his accent, and then suddenly he would go nasal just to make the class a bit more interesting. He was an aristocrat all the way down, and he was a very, very fine gentleman. Even after school, I had the opportunity when I used to come and play cricket or come to the main field. I had the opportunity of meeting him, and he was there sitting with his winning smile, encouraging all the boys to play. And I myself spent a lot of my time on the sports field. And Dr. Singh's house was just at the tip of the main field. And I always remember him. I remember seeing him because I was the goalkeeper and the wicket keeper. And I used to see him all the time, encouraging our team to play better. And Dr. Singh's son, Praveen, is a good friend of mine. And we were both batchmates in the class of 71. My pranams, love, and prayers for Dr. Singh and his family. And I shall never forget him. I loved him dearly. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajveer. Thank you very much. So we will now move to the next section of today's program, which is Scindia School 1978 to 1994. We have a small video which we have made out of the pictures. My daughter, she has created these videos, so thank you to her. And we're just playing this. Some of you will see yourself in these pictures. These are all Founders Day pictures. So just playing it for you.
भाषा और संस्कृति के संगम श्रद्धा प्रेम प्रकाशी भारत की आत्मा से जीवित भारत की आत्मा से जीवित हे गुरुकुल के धाम पुण्य तीर्थ है ज्ञान तीर्थ है हे विद्या के नाम खुले गगन की छाव स्वच्छ धरती की गोद सुहानी संस्कारित कर सीख सिखाती गुरुवाणी वरदानी सदाचार सेवा अनुशासन सदाचार सेवा अनुशासन प्रतिपालन निष्ठा पुण्य तीर्थ है ज्ञान तीर्थ है हे विद्या के नाम तुमको विनत प्रणाम तुमको विनत प्रणाम तुमको विनत प्रणाम.
It was very nice to see junior school teachers of ours. I could see Madam Dheer, Madam Malhotra, late Madam Gupta in that picture. I don't know, in the second last picture, I could see her. So the next, I would request Mr. Mahesh Gandhi to provide his tributes on behalf of the Board of Directors, Board of Governors of Scindia School. Mr. Mahesh Gandhi is one of the longest serving board members. If I'm not wrong, he's been serving the Board of Scindia School since 1988. And I think at least 50 Founders Day, he has participated himself physically. So over to you, Mahesh Gandhi, sir. I hope you're there. Sir, you're speaking on mute. Can you unmute yourself, sir? Mahesh Gandhi, sir.
Is it okay now?
Perfect, sir. This is perfect. We can't see you. Can you also switch on your video?
I'm just trying to put
Yeah.
that because
Take your time. Take your time.
just bear me off for a minute.
Yes, we can see you. Yes.
Now you can see?
Yes, we can see you and we can hear you.
Oh, great. Respected teachers of Scindia and Doon, dear fellow alumni and students of both Doon and Scindia, and all the people who are touched with the soul of Dr. Singh. He was one of the most respected educationists and a lovable, respected principal who shaped and nurtured the life of many students. Being a visionary helped him to plan and implement important landmarks in the institution to meet the need of the hour, especially in the field of academics, sports, and infrastructure and IT. During his Scindia sojourn, I think from 1978 to 94, for 16 years as a principal, helped Scindia to upgrade in the areas of IT through science blocks, healthcare, and to an extent of the class 4 employees accommodations, and also built up international recognition for the school through the platform of Indian public schools as also through Round Square International. Very soft spoken as an as an educator, and believed in traditional and trained in traditional mold, but grand in presentation. He believed in structures and systematic approach in the management, while he set up and streamlined processes. I had not the privilege of studying under him in the school, as I had already passed out in 1959 and he joined the school in 1978, but had a privilege of working along with him in many areas and as a board member since 1988 till 1994. As in nearly for 6 years, we have worked together in many areas for the development and growth of Scindia. He used to tell me that Mahesh, in Doon, he was a housemaster and had maximum connectivity of the students connect, which as a principal at Scindia, he misses. And I understand one more thing also, probably which he misses, was his daily routine of fun, which he was very fond of when he was in Doon. Correct me if I am wrong, but later on, I think Scindia, when he was there, he nearly lost the touch of the pan. But his face always groomed red on anybody he showered. However, we will all miss him. But he left a good legacy for all of us to follow. A great English linguist and academician, a shrewd gentleman, and a sound administrator with a lot of virtues to respect. And I would just say he's very fond that to respect is positive and to reconnect is negative. Our deepest condolence to not only to the family of both Doon and Scindia, but to all of us. We'll be missing him. Thank you very much to everybody. I hope it was audible, dear.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. You were very visible, and definitely you gave us a rundown of Dr. Singh's initiatives and achievements during his tenure. Obviously, during that period, Scindia School really went global. Truly, it crossed all the boundaries of different nations. In those days, it was a very big thing. Today, with all the social media, with everything around, it may sound easy, but it was very difficult that time to get a school at a global level, especially the things that he did, like bringing in Round Square International, doing exchange programs with schools like Harrow, Milton Keynes. There were so many other things that he did to take Scindia to the global platform. So thank you very much. So next we will move to the uh, Dr. Singh's colleagues. We have some of them. I think we are doing okay on the time. So we'll have around 3 to 4 minutes for each of our speakers. So let's start with uh, Mr. Abhimanyu Acharya. I have not seen him. Have you logged in, sir, Mr. Acharya? Because he had some connectivity issue. That's what he was telling me. And Mr. Acharya is also an old boy. Plus, he was a teacher already when Dr. Singh joined in as the principal of Scindia School in '78. So, are you there?
Yes, I am there. Can I be
Wonderful.
seen?
Wonderful. Okay.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
One of my first experiences with Dr. Singh was the fact that I was teaching class, and Mr. Sahi, the then principal, the retiring principal, called me. The only reason I think he called me was because I think my room was closest to his. So I went in, and little trepidation, because the senior most person in school doesn't call the junior most person in school usually, and I was at that time one of the most junior teachers in the school. And he called me in and he said that, Abhimanyu, you know that I'm retiring, and the new person who's coming to take over is Dr. S.D. Singh, and you have never met him. I said, no, sir, I have never met him. And he said that, well, he is coming in from the Doon school, and I would like you and Mr. Bedi, who is another colleague of mine, to make sure that his stay in school is a pleasant one, and help him, please. So I said, sir, you don't have to ask us. Any person coming to the school, we are bound to help him. He says, no. SD is a close personal friend of mine, and I would like you both to help him. I said, yes, sir, certainly, by all means. Few days passed, and Dr. Singh came in, and Mr. Sahi called us, me and Mr. Bedi, to meet Dr. Singh privately. And he introduced us to Dr. Singh. Dr. Singh was naturally a little, shall we say, disoriented, having just come into a school of nearly, I think, about 550 boys at that time. And he, I don't think he even registered who either Mr. Bedi or I was. Mr. Bedi, of course, was a tall, handsome Sardar. So obviously his face would stick in his head. I was a miserably thin, bearded person, so he forgot me almost immediately. But in the days that came thereafter, I think Mr. Bedi and I, were the ones to have the first party to welcome him. Enough to attend. And I remember with great fondness, with great difficulty, we got a bottle of scotch, and we invited Wing Commander Basin, who was our very first bursar ever, and of course all the senior colleagues like Mr. Agnihotri and Mr. Khar and so on, to have a little party at the junior most person's house, that is us. And such it went. And after a while, it became very clear that Dr. Singh was beginning to rely on the two of us a great deal. We became more than colleagues, or like a principal and an exceptionally junior teacher. We became more like confidants, because he would pass through us almost everything and every step that he was going to take, which was a little flattering for us, because being so junior, you would understand that it's quite unusual for a principal to talk so freely with junior staff. Our shall we say, association continued in this very warm fashion, and very fortunately for me, Dr. Singh was from the English block in Doon School, and I was the head of English at that time in at India, and he relied on me a great deal to handle almost every single dramatic performance in English in the school, and he gave me an absolute free rein. I could do anything, do as many plays as wanted, take up all the boys' times, etc. Much to the annoyance of my very, very good and dear friend, Mr. Bhardwaj, who used to be very protective about his boys, saying, "How can you keep them so late for practice, etc." But Dr. Singh used to be sitting there in the OAT when I would be practicing. And as I said, we became very close. Finally, it became time for me to get married, and got married I did. However, my parents insisted that I should have a proper wedding with a I got myself registered when I got married, and they insisted that I should have a sit down wedding with the havan and everything. So the only person who could act as my father at that time was Mr. Dr. S.D. Singh. And Dr. S.D. Singh came to me and he said to me, he says, "Look, you don't need your father to come all the way from wherever he is abroad. I'll be your father." So Mr. and Mrs. Singh very kindly, Dr. and Mrs. Singh very kindly came down to Gwalior and saw me married to somebody who was already legally my wife, but he officiated in loco parentis to me, which was a very touching thing to do. I wish I had the photographs with me to share them, but unfortunately I don't. Now, the interesting thing is that we we got on so well together that almost every small, what is seems to me to be very small now, but in school terms it was very big, decisions were passed through every single year that I can remember. And he used to ask us, "What should I do? Shall I do this?" And normally it would be incumbent on very junior teachers to nod their heads and say, "Yes, sir, please do this." But not in Dr. Singh's case. He would actually want us to argue him out of an action. He would actually encourage us to build ideas on his ideas. And in that way, he shared so much of himself with us, for which I'll always be extremely grateful. In another couple of years, it became time for me to move on and leave the school. And he called me to his office again and he says, "I believe you're considering leaving the school." So I said, "Yes, sir. I don't think I can continue to teach in the school." So he says, "Abhimanyu, what shall I do?" So I said, "Sir, what do you mean, what shall you do? You can do plenty of things." He says, "No, I've come to rely on you so much. Your leaving the school is really a bit of a wrench." I said, "Sir, sorry, but I really need to move." He says, "Yes, I agree. You do need to move, and it would be wrong on my part to keep you from the great heights that you can achieve." I don't know exactly what great heights he was talking about, but anyway, with those words in my ear, I left the school. But although I left the school, I did not leave Dr. Singh. Dr. Singh continued to call me, and in those days there was no cell phones or anything, so he used to actually call me on an STD line and speak to me when I was in Bangalore, which was, of course, very sweet of him. But he used to continue to ask me advice, including advice as to who to make the next school captain, which was very strange because I would make suggestions since I knew the boys, and it was came as a great surprise to me that he actually took my advice and actually made those people school captains, which was in a way very flattering to me, and also very sobering that he took so much of interest in finding out what I thought. SD was always a friend, and he used to keep encouraging me to, sort of go further. I don't know what he meant by go further, but he used to say, "Abhimanyu, you can climb mountains." I had no desire to climb any mountains, but anyway, I nodded very wisely. And he said, you have such a future in academia. At that time, I was in a rural development organization. And he says, you have such a future in academia. You should get back into academics. So I said, yes, sir. And I just moved on. Finally, it came time for me to, find a school for my son. And he rang me up and he says, Abhimanyu, I am going to arrange a special exam for your son to come into the school. So I said, sir, I don't know. I mean, Gwalior is so far away from Bangalore where I was, and I was just thinking of Lawrence. So he says, you are not going to think of anything else. You're going to think of Scindia. So before I knew what was happening, my son was in Scindia, and he had a very happy time there. And I used to return, and every now and again he used to call me up and say, Abhimanyu, I want you to come and do a play. So I used to come back, and NKT is online at the moment. I can see him. I directed the house play for him, and Dr. Singh saw the house play and he says, this is the play we're going to do for Founders Day. So I stayed on and we did that same play for the Mahaji house play for the Scindia School Founders Day. Dr. Singh, I will always remember him because for no rhyme or reason, he used to call me up as lately as last year. In October, when my mother passed on, he called me up and he condoled her passing. He was a good friend of my father's because my father, I think, preceded him in Doon School when he came to join Doon School. And I spoke with him and he says, I'm so happy that you got your doctorate and that you're now a...
Sir, can we wrap it? Acharya, Abhimanyu, sir, can we, in the interest of time, can you please take another 1 minute and wrap the...
Yeah, sure.
Please,
so that's about all.
Thank you, sir.
No problem. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir.
Not at all.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
We are running a little bit behind time. So, dear teachers, please share at least one experience or memory of yours, right? So that it's in 3 minutes, so that we can cover. There's a lot to cover, and there are a lot of students also who wants to join who are not in the agenda.
Sure.
So please. So next, we have Mr. Garg. Garg, sir, are you there? R.S. Garg. He taught us physics. He taught me physics all from 7th to 12th. Are you there, sir? Okay. Probably I'll give him a call. Dheer Saab was having some problem in connecting. Dheer Saab, are you there? Let me see. I'm just seeing in the list of participants if... Sorry. Okay. So I think Upadhyay sir, are you there?
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you. So, okay, principal is there. Okay. So, yeah, Mr. Tiwari is there. Mr. Bakshi is there. Mr. Bedi, are you there? Okay. So next we'll go to Mr. Bakshi. Mr. Bakshi, I can see you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. As we know, Dr. Singh was a person who brought the Scindia School on the global map. And he was known figure at his time and a real administrator. He was loved and respected by each and everyone from the faculty member. As we know, he blended hard and soft touches. He was strict, but he was very kind at heart. When I joined in 1978 in July, and Dr. Singh joined in August, and I can see father figure in him. I joined as a very young boy, and he groomed me into real public school master. And since he left in 1994, I was regular touch with him. And my last conversation with him was around 40 days back. And I called him and asked him, so how are you? He asked me, Bakshi, how are you and your family? And he says, Bakshi, today I'm not keeping well. I'll call you later. And he never called me back. My salute to Dr. Singh, wherever he is, and I pray his soul to rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Bakshi sir. Thank you very much. You have really played such a long inning for all of us. We have seen you from the junior school days till now, and great to see you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Same here.
So next, we have Mr. Tiwari. Mr. N.K. Tiwari obviously shares a great relationship. He was my housemaster in the final year. Mr. Tiwari, I'm sure he will share some of his memories with Dr. Singh. But I also know that Mr. Tiwari's father, Mr. K.C. Tiwari, had worked with Dr. Singh, or Dr. Singh had worked with Mr. K.C. Tiwari at Birla Vidhya Mandir. So, as I said, Dr. Singh started his career in early 50s, and he spent around 2 years at Birla Vidhya Mandir. By the way, he belonged to a family of barristers. His father and most of his uncles were barristers, and all his brothers. He's, I think, 2 brothers and 4 sisters, and all of them had done law, and they used to practice in Lucknow and Bareilly. And I think he always had interest in the, teaching. I gathered all these from Mr. Praveen Singh. So over to you, Mr. Tiwari, please.
Yes, as Rajiv was saying, that Dr. Singh and my father were colleagues at Birla Vidya Mandir. And in fact, they were good friends. And then he came to Doon School. So, and from there subsequently came over to Scindia School as principal. And I had a very bad experience when I was at teaching in a school in Punjab. And I was in a very bad frame of mind that I worked so hard in Punjab, but that was not recognized. In fact, I was asked to leave. So one fine day, my father told me that there is a position of chemistry teacher available in Scindia School, Gwalior. So I said, no, I'm not interested anymore. He said, no, you should go meet people. Why are you sitting here? Anyway, so I went to Delhi. There was an interview in which late Madharavji was sitting.
HDMI.
And Dr. Singh was sitting, and few more people whom I don't recognize then. I don't know them even today. But there were some subject experts. And we had a very interesting interview, and I was sure that I will not be taken. But I suddenly realized that when I entered, Dr. Singh introduced me to Mr. Scindia, that he's so-and-so, he has a public school background, as if he was wanting me to join Scindia. But at the end of the interview, I was quite sure that I won't be appointed. And I went to Doon to my brother. 2 days down the line, again, there were no telephones and mobile phones. A telegram arrived from my father that you have been appointed at Scindia School. Go and meet Dr. Singh. He is staying at Doon School. So I went to see him there. So I came to school in 1980. And since then, till I heard the news of his passing away, he has remained principal Scindia School for me. I was not so frequent in communicating with him as Mr. Bakshi has been, but few times when I spoke to him on telephone, he sounded like Dr. Singh. That's it. And a very good administrator. And somebody was just saying that he was a guiding factor for his students. I agree, there can't be no two opinions about it. But only a Abhimanyu said that at some point of time he was guiding Abhimanyu, who was a teacher there. So his method of guiding me was guiding me especially was very interesting. Few things which he taught me was my capability to work. How much can you work? And he made me realize that 18 to 20 hours a day you can work. And I did work because year after my joining, he came up with a streak of starting computers in Scindia School. And computers were bought. And I was pushed into that. But interesting part was that you do a lot of hard work and go and meet your boss and you expect a pat on the back, which was very, very hard to get from him because he wanted more from you, more from you, more from you. And that was tremendous learning from Dr. Singh. He was an educator in true sense that he not only guided his students, but he guided people like me. Mr. Bakshi was on record, and a whole lot of other people who came in contact with him. I salute to him, and I will not say condolences at all, because we are here.
Rajiv, I think Mr. Tiwari has frozen. So we may want to.
Yeah, Amitabh, looks like that. Let's see if he can join. I think he was almost concluding his speech. But, a very touching speech. And as I said, Mr. Tiwari has seen him maybe from his childhood days, because that's the time when he would have been at the Birla Vidhya Mandir campus in Nainitaal, where Dr. Singh was there. So I think we'll probably move on, and if Sir comes back and if he wants to conclude, then it's fine. We'll take him back. The next we have is our current principal at the Scindia School, Ajay Singh, sir. He wanted to share his words. So this morning we had a quick chat. So over to you, Dr. Ajay Singh.
Thank you, Mr. Rajiv, and good evening, everybody. Yes. I would say rather quite fortunate to be sitting on a chair adorned by such luminaries. So when I look at, in my discussions with Mr. Bakshi and other staff members who have been rather lucky to have worked with Dr. Singh, a legend himself, you get to understand not only the man, but his work ethics, which probably also took the school to newer heights, not only in terms of what has been discussed, like modern pedagogies and reviving of traditions, which was so important. And when we look at traditions, we should not forget that he was quite progressive, is what I have gathered in my discussions. He was instrumental behind the science block, the computers, as rightly mentioned right now with Mr. Tiwari, and as well as the international exchange, which was so much revived by him. And this all put the school, I think, rather on the forefront of education. So such a luminary had a vision, had a plan, and had the implementation of all the ideas which were progressive as well as traditional. And when you look at the person himself, what I have understood in my discussions, he was a stickler, the correctness of attitude, the dressing sense, a strict disciplinarian, but at the same time, very kind-hearted. Now that goes a long way in conveying the message to the people that we should work. But at the same time, we should also ensure that people get the benefit when they deserve by showing that due gratitude and kindness. In fact, his dressing sense also, I believe, went on to the boys in whom he developed and guided himself. So that was the kind of, that is the kind of impact you have as a leader of a school, and that of the stature of the Scindia School. We should also not forget that Mrs. Singh, she also had a big role. And she, in fact, I believe, took charge of the nursery school, which was there on the fort, and the adult school, as well as she, I think, went on and made the ladies' club very dynamic society. So you have a couple who not only are making the school, but also ensuring that it's lively, it's impactful, and education remains at the center of the entire deliberations at the school. So it is difficult to forget such leaders. It's my misfortune because I was trying to get a bite out of him, though he was keeping unwell, for our great function which we have planned in October, where we culminate our 125th year and celebrate the 126th year. So we would have loved to have that baritone voice for which he has been very famous, but unfortunate that we couldn't get it recorded. The time didn't permit, and he was taken away from us. But I believe he has had a full life. And as the current principal of the Scindia School, I think it is an honor to be on a chair which has been held by such luminaries and great people. So thank you so much. And Dr. Singh would be always remembered and cherished forever in the Scindia School.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Mr. Tiwari, you're back. Would you like to conclude? I know you were almost at the end of your speech. Do you want to say your last few sentences, which you were not able to? You're right now on mute, I believe. Okay. So I think we will move to the next section of today's program. Okay. Mr. Tiwari, would you?
Yes.
Yeah, would you like to complete your speech? Because I think we lost you due to connectivity challenge. I know you were almost at the end, where you were saying that you do not want to give condolence, and you're saying you wanted to salute, and that's where we lost you. So you want to complete that few thoughts of yours?
Yeah, that is what I was saying, that we are celebrating his life, and I have no intention of expressing any kind of condolences, because all I would like to do is that legacy of Dr. Singh will live forever. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was really very well said. You know, there's a beautiful line which says, a great soul serves everyone all the time. A great soul never dies. It brings us together again and again, by Maya Angelou. So we'll move to the next part of the session. Is there any other teacher that we have? Because we had a slot as open forum for the teachers. If there's any teacher who would like to say anything, if he's there, we would definitely like to hear him or her. Do we have anyone else? If yes, just raise your hand. Yes, sir, you were saying something.
I can see Mr. Arun Kanodia sitting here.
Okay.
He couldn't have been his student.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know if Mr.
Sure.
Kanodia, you want to, because we are in the Board of Governors and the teacher section. If you want to say a few words, your son Anuj was our junior, and obviously you have served for many
Arun,
years.
you have mute.
My batchmate. Yes. That's your thing.
Arun Kanodia is mute.
Okay, so maybe we'll move to the next section. Next section is the Scindia Old Boys section. We have a video which is put all his pictures. This is like a mishmash of a lot of pictures that we have put together, and we have taken the music from the school band. Incidentally, the first music was the Doon school song "Love Pe Aati Hai," which was also a song which was one of our prayer songs. Then the second one was our school song that we took in the previous video, and in this you will hear in the background Scindia School band, which was again under his term. That was the first time that we had an opportunity to parade on the Rajpath, the RD parade. I think it was somewhere in '89, if I'm not wrong. Some of my batchmates might remind me because they were in the band. So let's see this small video, and then we'll get started with Dr. Amrendra Puri, who was his first school captain. We'll move to the next section. So before I call Dr. Puri, I thought that our current SOBA president, Banjul Badal, he should speak on behalf of all the old boys, and then we'll get started with this first school captain. So over to you, Banjul.
Yeah, thank you, Rajiv. Thank you for having me here on the celebrations of Dr. Singh's life. And as the president and on behalf of Scindia Old Boys, I would offer my condolences to the Breed family first. And I would like to thank our principal, Mr. Ajay Singh, all my teachers, all the DOSCOs and Scindians present here. I was looking at what was common in Dr. Singh in my life. Well, we all, Mr. Bakshi, Dr. Singh and me joined the school in 1978, same year. Only I had the laurels of passing out with flying colors. They both stayed back. And I remember him as a very strict authoritarian personality, and we were all scared of him when we were growing up. Obviously, no one wanted to be in his chamber, but I had somehow made so much noise that I was taken to his chamber by some teacher or the other. But in the 11th, when I was in the 11th, and I finally said, now I'm going to be in the 12th and no more going to Dr. Singh's office, Mr. Dheer took over as our housemaster. And between me and him, I think we spent 2-3 times that I had to go with Mr. Dheer to his office. And once I had taken Mr. Dheer to his office. And I told him, sir, ab bahut ho gaya hai. Ya to Dheer sahab housemaster rahenge, ya main rahunga JJ House mein. Well, thanks to his diplomacy, I think both of us stayed at JJ House. And that's what I remember. And I would like to end with a quote that I remember of his always. He always told me that, Banjul, remember, all your fears and fights will have to be first fought and won on the grounds of Scindia and Scindia alone. I'd always be celebrating his life, and I have huge respect for that gentleman. God bless his soul. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Manju. Thank you very much. Thank you for that frank and candid memories of sharing those memories of yours. So there we have Dr. Amrendra Puri. He is in Dallas. Actually, he stays in Delhi, and he's flying out in next few hours. When I called him up, he said, "Oh, it's so bad because I have my flight in the evening." I said, No. You have your flight in the evening, Dallas time. But our call is in the morning, your time. So over to you, Dr. Puri, first school captain in Dr. Singh's era. You're on mute, Amrendra. We can see you.
Thank you, Rajiv. Can you hear me?
Yes, Doctor.
Okay. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I must confess that it came as a big surprise to me when Rajiv called me yesterday. And, it was going back all the way to 1978, I think. And yes, I did have the privilege and the honor of welcoming Dr. S.D. Singh as the new principal after Dr. Sahi had retired and gone. And we were all wondering what kind of principal we would get from DOSCO. But I think in a couple of weeks only, it became a very friendly attitude, his very friendly attitude towards all his students, and specifically the school prefects, on behalf of whom I would interact with him, and whatever minor issues that we had, because I had a very brief interaction. I was passing out the very next year, and I can tell you that it was so smooth, and he was always willing to listen to your problems, whatever minor issues which we at that time thought would bring the earth down. No, I mean, he would, he had the knack of solving things in a very amicable manner. And those are the memories that I have with him. I agree with Mr. Tiwari when he said that no condolences for this. It is a celebration. And I also believe absolutely in the same thing. When a batsman scores century and gets out, you don't lament that he's got out. You celebrate his century, that he's made a significant contribution, not only to Scindia School, but for all the students in Doon School and in Scindia, and for all the students. So thank you very much, Rajiv, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Puri, and thank you for agreeing at such a short notice. So this particular incident was shared by Mr. Praveen Singh, Dr. Singh's son, that when Dr. Singh was hired, actually Mr. Sahi asked Dr. Singh to apply for this principal's role because Mr. Sahi was retiring. And Mr. Shukla had already retired and he was living in Gwalior. And Mr. Shukla had recommended to Rajmata ji and to late Madhurao Scindia ji, somebody. Dr. Singh went for the interview. It was at Claridge's. The board met Dr. Singh, and they liked him. They said that this is the person that we want as our principal. So they went and gave an offer to Dr. Singh. Dr. Singh joined. When Dr. Singh joined, he was told by Mr. Sahi that, we had a reference from somebody from Hyderabad Public School, but you were selected because everyone liked you. And Mr. Praveen Singh was visiting Gwalior that time. So Dr. Singh asked Mr. Praveen Singh to go and meet Mr. Shukla. And Mr. Shukla also said the same thing to Mr. Praveen Singh, that though I had recommended someone, but I feel so happy that Scindia School has got such a good principal who has been selected by the entire board. So I can see Mr. Kanodia, so Mr. Kanodia, let's have you. Your son was with us, and obviously you were on the board. You have spent a lot of time with Dr. Singh. So a few memories, if you could share, that would be great.
Yeah, Rajiv, I've been visiting the school ever since I left in 1965. I don't recall having missed a single Founders Day. So I've seen the working, known the person. I've seen all the principals, right from Mr. K.C. Shukla to Mr. Dale Dar, to Mr. Sahi, to Dr. Singh, to Mr. N.K. Tiwari, to Mr. Dar. and now finally, and Mr. Shamik Ghosh, and now Mr. Ajay Singh. Something which really influenced me the most was the style that he used to be dressing up. I was really influenced by that, and I wanted my son and to be getting to the same school as mine. So I went to school thinking that my son would just get admission just by at the request of mine to the principal. But Dr. Singh was then the principal. He said, Arun, you must go through this examination, the entrance examination. Your son should go through it. But although I assure you that he'll be admitted, but he must do that. So he took that examination himself, absolutely. And he said, then the result, you'll have to wait for 2-3 days. I said, what, sir? You're talking, it'll take you 2-3 days to decide for an old boy. Well, no, I must do this. So the result came out, and he, of course, naturally admitted my son. So he would give no special privilege actually to my son, whereas he would just keep an eye on my son doing all right, and he would write to me in between saying that son is doing well, he's whatever that you wanted out of him is coming up with it. So I was really happy. So I have been constantly in touch with all the former principals, and I can tell you Dr. Singh was always very, very warm. Mr. Tiwari likewise, Mr. Dar, Mr. Dr. Shamik Ghosh, everyone that I've been in touch with are really, really good. I really miss Dr. Singh. I was in constant touch with him. Every little opportunity that I got, I used to be calling him up, and he said, Arun, you realize that I can't be traveling. Sir, you must come for this, you come for that. Every school function, every old boy function, I used to be inviting him. So I was in touch, and I always loved him, liked him, admired him. So that's what I have to say. I really feel sad. And of course, now as Mr. Tiwari and others have said that we should be celebrating. Dr. Amrinder Puri also said that it's a celebration we should do for such a great personality. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I'm really happy to be here for this meeting. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ranjit.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Mr. Kanodia. That was nice. Just wanted to have our next speaker, and our next speaker has not been able to join online. Vinayak Harur and Rohit Sipai Malani, they were the school captains. And obviously, Ashim Banerjee, I spoke to him. Ashim was he lives in the West Coast. So it's like 3:30 in the morning for him right now. So right now I'm reading a note sent by Vinayak Harur, the school captain in 82-83. Dr. Singh was a gentle soul with a stern face. This is greetings from the batch of 83. But beyond the veneer of strictness was a man with a large heart who was generous in his support of every member of the community and thoughtful in the way he supported each one of them. His love for animals was evident for all to see, as we saw him walk his pet along the perimeter of the fort wall every morning. It is difficult to put into words the deeds of a man as large as Dr. Singh, and suffice to say that we admired his patience and ability to manage the expectations of the entire Sindhian community in a quiet and assured manner. On a lighter note, we vividly remember that other than a large heart, he also had a very large pocket, one which easily accommodated the English textbook he needed for class 12A. On behalf of the entire batch of 83, may I convey our sincere condolences to his family and to each of you gathered here today. May God give us the strength to bear this loss and cherish the memories that he has left with us. So that was Vinayak Harur's tribute, the school captain, 1982-83. And now we will move to Partho Sanyal, school captain from the batch of 85-86, if I'm not wrong. And yes, Gurmeet Kindra could not join. In fact, he has sent me a message that can he send a video now. So Gurmeet, I contacted him, I think a few days back. So I would request Partho. Partho is dialing in from New York City. Over to you, Partho. I hope you can hear us.
Yeah, thank you, Rajiv. Good morning. Good to you, and good evening to each of you. Thank you for the opportunity, to you and Banjul for inviting me. The legacy of a human being were to be measured by how many people show up at his memorial service, then we would have done Dr. Singh proud with the attendance we have today. But as many of you have said, this is not a somber moment. It's a moment to celebrate a great human being and his contributions. And what binds us together is how he left an imprint on each of us in some way or the And I spent 6 years in the senior school from 1980 to 86, and saw him and interacted with him on a variety of occasions. He was a larger-than-life figure, as many of you will remember. He had a booming voice, but a twinkle in his eye. He didn't suffer fools gladly. He had a very exacting requirement for excellence. And as Mr. Tiwari was explaining, he pushed everybody to achieve their potential. And that sort of focus on excellence, that you could do better than what you're giving today, was a very important attribute of his legacy. His institutional legacy to the school is well regarded and well documented. There were very important developments that the school went through under his leadership. And what Mr. Tiwari what did not tell you perhaps is that Mr. Tiwari was my first chemistry teacher, and then Dr. Singh appointed him to become the head of the computer science department. And Scindia School was the first school in India, I think, with St. Columbus, Delhi, if I have this right, to offer computer science as a subject in 11th and 12th grades. And some of my friends here who joined in were, in those classes. Jitendra Bachal and others took that class, and Mr. Tiwari was the head of the computer science department. To inaugurate the computer science department, Mr. Rajiv Gandhi showed up, thanks to Maharaja Scindia. And I was chosen to sort of, walk Mr. Rajiv Gandhi through the computer science block. And he looks at me and he says, don't mess this up. He's an important man. And I said, yes, sir. And Mr. Rajiv Gandhi came, visited the school, and soon after became prime minister, within a year or so. And then Mr. Venkatraman was the chief guest when I was in my 12th grade, and he was the vice president then, and he became president, a year later. And so he had this knack of, bringing people in, and they'd get promoted from whatever job they had. And I think he might have even remarked to Mr. Narasimha Rao when he visited school, when I think he was already the prime minister, that people who visited school, got promoted. So he had this sort of, wicked sense of humor, twinkle in his eye. He was a kind man, and you would not get that from sort of, his outward appearances, because he had this sort of strict disciplinarian in him. But as we all know, his sort of strive for excellence, his marriage of tradition and innovation, his foresight, all these things that we're celebrating today were unique in a single human being, and the lasting impact that he's had through 3 generations of people from 2 of the premier schools in India is worth noting. And on a personal level, I interacted with him in plays, and as Mr. Acharya was saying, he'd show up at the OAT and he'd sort of supervise the Founders Day play he was interested in. He was a coach of the debate team, and so he'd come and supervise us and tell us what we should or should not do. So he was keenly involved in the day-to-day functioning of the various activities of the school. My friend Amitabh Malhotra was on the phone. Told me an interesting story of how many years later he and a bunch of our classmates went to Doon to see Dr. Singh, and Dr. Singh bought them all beers to celebrate his visit, which would have been a difficult thing for Amitabh to have achieved while he was at school. So kudos to Amitabh for having done that. So, the last thing I'd say is, we have a little bit of Dr. Singh in all of us, right? So from not leaving home with shining shoes, or not leaving home with scruff shoes, as Gautam Sengupta said, to having a sense of, discipline and striving for excellence. All of these things I carry a little bit in me and try and impart to my own children. So I think his legacy is that he has taught us things that will last, for many years to come. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Partho. Thanks a lot. That was very touching. Next, we move to Ashish Malhotra. We don't have Shantanu Mukherjee, the school captain of 85-86 batch. Ashish, we would definitely like to hear from you. You had an interesting journey, came out as winner of both the Governor's Award as well as the President Award. By the way, both was unexpected. So let's hear from you.
Thanks, Rajiv, and I hope everyone can hear me. Yeah, unexpected. In fact, I can tell you that when the school result came out, Dr. Singh called my parents in Calcutta. That's where my parents were living at that time. And my mother picked up the phone and she said, how did he do? Because the story was that in the pre-boards, I had failed. And there was a thing in our time that if you failed in the pre-board, you may not be allowed to sit in the 12th board exams. And I had to go to Dr. Singh's, it wasn't his office actually, I had to go to his house and got a little bit of a scolding, but he said, look, I have faith in you. I think you'll do okay. And when that phone rang, my mother was very worried that I might have failed again in the boards, but I'd done better than that. And my mother said, are you sure? Are you sure he's done that well? And Dr. Singh said, listen, even I'm not sure, so I've sent the peon back to Delhi to check the exam results. So that's the story, the unexpected part, Rajiv. But yeah, I was going to narrate another anecdote about Dr. Singh when I was in grade 10th. Look, before that, I just wanted to say that a lot has been said about Dr. Singh's life. So I don't want to repeat that. I think everything that I could have said, people have covered that as to what a great man he was and the profound impact he has left on a generation of Scindians, and many of us are here. I'll go back to my anecdote in grade 10th, and for people of that era will remember that we had a summer uniform and a winter uniform, and during the summers, 11th and 12th graders could wear trousers and 10th graders couldn't. And I think, again, people are talking about how Dr. Singh brought new things to school and did things for the first time. I remember when I was in 10th grade, we got invited to a fair in the city, which was, I think, arranged by ex-Scindians, both SKV and Scindia School. And for the first time, we were looking forward to an opportunity to interact with the SKV girls. And it was a big event in our life. I think it was around September or October. A big announcement was made in the assembly that, look, this fair is being held in the city and all the boys are invited. And Dr. Singh said, look, you have to wear school uniform. And it was in September, October, winter clothing had not kicked in. So us 10th graders would have to wear shorts and go. So some of us were feeling very awkward. We were saying, look, we don't get a chance to interact with girls or SKVians all the time. And we didn't feel like wearing shorts. So me and a bunch of us went to Dr. Singh's home once again with a petition. And of course, all of us were quite creative with the reasons why we didn't want to wear shorts. Somebody said, sir, this year it's already chilly while it's September, October. So we think we should move to the winter uniform and wear trousers. Another person says that Jayji or Ranuji ka dhobi ghar pe gaya hua hai, so clothes aajkal nahi hai. So please let us take out the winter clothes from the box and wear them. I remember Rajiv Bhalla was with me and he said, sir, I've had a growth spurt recently. He was 6 feet tall and the shorts have become really short. So a lot of creative reasons were given. But one thing that Dr. Singh did was he stared at all of us for like 20 seconds and then they said, look, you guys have made a passionate pitch and have been very creative with with the reasons why you want to wear winter clothes and wear trousers. Couldn't you just said that you guys are 16-year-old and you would make a better first impression on girls if you were wearing trousers as opposed to shorts? So this was very unexpected, but that again tells you the lighter side and the person he was. He surprised us many times. I'm very thankful to have been to the school in his era And that's something that will always remain with me. So thank you very much for the opportunity, Rajiv, and for arranging this. Back to you.
Thank you. Why don't we have Amitabh also on the, he's there. So let's hear from Amitabh and Amitabh's story. Obviously, Ashish was in Jayaji house, Amitabh was in Madhav house. So let's hear Amitabh's story. Over to you, Amitabh.
Yeah, this sounds like nepotism. Same family, two people. But I just say that Dr. Singh would have never allowed that. But Dr. Singh, look, I think administrator is what I'll call him. A1. हमको पता है कि हम सबको ये एक आदत सी होती है across batches that कि हम रेफर करते हैं कि फला फला टीचर फला फला प्रिंसिपल बेस्ट था, जबकि हमारे पास कोई रेफरेंस पॉइंट नहीं होता है. तो I would first concede that I have no reference point because from the 7th till the 12th that I was in school, only one principal is what I had, which was Dr. Singh. But I'll still go out on a limb and say he was the best principal that I experienced. Present company, Dr. Tiwari, Scindia Tiwari, you were not there at my time, so I can't say that. But I would say that he was indeed. And I think उनका administration का ये strength थी कि वो सब चीज को पकड़ के रखते थे, लेकिन at the same time वो किसी को stifle नहीं करते. ना वो growth थी, ना वो एक पर्सनालिटी डेवलपमेंट था, वो सब चीज को encourage करते थे, लेकिन अपना कमांड, अपना कंट्रोल, चाहे वो स्टूडेंट हो. And I would like to go out and say, even with the staff and faculty, he was considered. I think at one of the get-together, somebody said, one of the teachers said कि उनके कमरे में जाते हुए एक दो लोग ही जा पाते थे, because वो कंट्रोल तो शकूर उनके जो थे, जो बाहर खड़े होते थे ऑफिस में, उनके हाथ में थी. लेकिन फिर भी मैं ये कहूंगा कि वो एक पर्सनालिटी बहुत ही स्ट्रांग थी. और जैसे पार्थो ने पहले कहा कि yes, we could have never imagined getting a beer out of Dr. Singh, but this was in 2012. Our 25 years was in 2011. We tried to bring all the teachers back to the school. He couldn't come because ma'am wasn't well. And so a few of us went to Doon to give the memento to him and ma'am, and तब उनसे मुलाकात हुई, और तब वो खुद गाड़ी चला के हमको देहरादून क्लब लेके गए, और वहां उन्होंने हमारे साथ बियर पी और हमको पिलाई. Or what we wanted to do, which we did, I got a photograph, so we wanted to capture it to say that this is the evidence that कि हमने principal के साथ beer पी, जो school में तो कभी नहीं हो पाता था. But yeah, see, I mean, look, I'll end here and say that like he loved Charu. Charu was his dog that he used to take for a walk, and he was my batchmate. Aditya Vadera had he been here, he could have said a lot of things, because Vadera spent more time in his house probably than he did himself. But I would say that really miss him. I managed to say a few things when his grandson organized something on his 90th birthday, and I squeezed something in there. It's always great to be associated with school, with my teachers, friends, and old boys. But this year has been tough. Last 6-7 months. We've lost Dr. Singh, we lost Dr. Ingle, we lost Mr. Khar, as you can see, he's in the background of my banner. Rishta भी एक unique था, बहुत लोगों के साथ, but बहुत ही अच्छा था. तो we'll miss Dr. Singh, but long live his legacy. Thank you.
Thanks, Amitabh. Thank you very much. So next we have Rahul Tiwari from the batch of 1988, Shivaji House. Rahul was in school prefect, Hindi editor, so he had a lot of interactions with Dr. Singh. Over to you, Rahul.
Thanks, Rajiv. I think this is an opportunity for us to pay respects to Dr. Singh, and I'm sure it's, as Partho said, there's a Dr. Singh in all of us. And I think the way I remember him, I think one of the key things, the most remarkable thing about Dr. Singh was that despite the cover of, I would say, aristocratic demeanor, there was a very warm person behind that. And you could see that in every day that he came to the assembly, said good morning to all of us. I think that came through. The way he would be in his Fiat, driving up to the assembly hall, and when people wished him, you could see him nod almost to everybody who did that. You could see that when he shook your hand, when you walked up to the stage to kind of, the two small words of encouragement meant a lot, to all of us. So I think there was this man who really was very sincere in most of the interactions that he had as a person. And it also came through when he was upset with you, right? Despite him being angry, there was this sincerity, this this authenticity that he would convey in his interactions that is very tough to find in today's world. And that is, I think, an imprint that he's left in all of us. And I remember kind of meeting him almost 40 years back. I joined the school in class 9th, and I sat alone in the library taking the exam, and this was right before the school would open. And I was led to Dr. Singh's chambers after the exam was marked, and Dr. Singh looked at me and said that, look, I mean, you failed, and you failed terribly at the entrance exam. But then he also looked into my eyes and said that, Rahul, would you really want to join the school? And I had been to the school, I'd seen all the regalia and the campus and everything else, and I think my yes was very emphatic. And he saw through that and said, okay, I'll let you in, but don't disappoint me. And I think those kind of things, the largeness of heart, the magnanimity kind of stays with you. And I can clearly say that that was a turning point in my life. Somebody putting that kind of faith in you. So a lot of fond memories. All I can say at this point in time is that Shat Shat Pranam to Sir, and it's a big loss for the Scindia School community. But I think he was he was a towering personality that the school is and the school community is going to miss for a long time.
Thank you. Thanks, Rahul. Thank you very much. That was very touching. So I think next we have Dylan has not signed in. He's in Canada, Abhijit Singh Dylan. Next we have Ayushman Hazarika. Ayushman is based out of New Jersey, and we had a very good chat 2 days back about Dr. Singh. So over to you, Ayushman. School captain, 1991 batch. Are you on mute?
Rajiv.
Yes. Yes.
Can you see me?
We can't see you. We could hear you. Put your video on. Ayushman, are you there?
I'm very much here, Rajiv. I can't hear you at all. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Honorable teachers, esteemed seniors, friends. It's not often that Guru Purnima and the 4th of July, which is America's Independence Day, celebrations happen to fall on the same weekend. This is a rare occasion, and 2023 offered us one of these extremely rare occasions. So I got news of Dr. Singh's passing away on this Guru Purnima and the July 4th weekend, and the flood of memories just came gushing. I spent 7 years at the Scindia School, very formative years of my life, 1984 to 1991. And whenever the word principal comes up, even today, what I envision is Dr. Singh in his starched white safari suit, mostly, his low baritone rising above the surrounding silence, and a very few well thought out, impactful words that would force you to think about what you are doing and push you on a path of discipline and learning. Margam darshayati yah, as our scriptures say, one who shows the path. And I think those words are fitting for Dr. Singh, a teacher and a guru in the purest sense of the word. This assembly here, I see so many esteemed seniors, teachers.
I think your video is on, Ayushman, so you're doing fine.
Yeah. No, this assembly here, Rajiv, with all my teachers and my seniors, it takes me back more than 40 years to the Scindia School, Gwalior's morning assembly. Dr. Singh would be walking in. The day's announcements have been made. The Saraswati Vandana has been sung. And today I would like to try and recite one of my favorite assembly prayers. I'm looking east over New Jersey here. So I think it's just fitting that I would now recite one of my favorite assembly school prayers, just like the school assembly. It's around 9 o'clock here in New Jersey on the East Coast. And just as Dr. Singh would have done more than 40 years ago. So please join me. It goes like this. Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, I may sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it is in dying, born to eternal life. Amen. And Shat Pranam to Dr. Singh, to all my seniors and teachers. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks, Ayushman. Thank you. We do remember you reciting the Sanskrit prayers when Dr. Atmaram Sharma ji was not there, or sometimes you used to double up for him. So well done, and thank you very much, Ayushman. So
thanks to everyone.
Next, let's move to London with Mr. Sanjay Nandi. Sanjay Nandi, are you there? He was the school captain, 92 batch, 91, 92. Do I hear you? Let me see. Okay. Kunal is there. Rahul. Okay, so I don't see Sanjay Nandi. So let's move to Kunal Khanna. Interestingly, Amitabh was talking about nepotism. So we have here Kunal and Karam, brothers, and they were the school captains in 2 consecutive years. So Kunal, over to you, 1992-93 batch. And then we will have the last school captain in Dr. Singh's time, that is Karam Khanna. And then we'll put the floor open for anybody who would like to say anything. So Kunal, are you there?
Yes. Good evening to everyone in India. Thank you, Rajiv, for the opportunity to be a part of this congregation. And like Ayushman said, so many memories are flooding back from childhood. This past week, of course, when I heard of his passing, it's quite a stark moment when you realize such a person who's left such a big imprint in your childhood and your development has suddenly passed away. Dr. Singh defined the ethos of what Scindia School was for me. He projected an expectation of each student to rise to a level of excellence that he displayed himself. Not only was his expectation very high for the students, but also for the staff, who did not have an easy passage either. Dr. Singh always demanded strict preparation, whether you were a senior staff member, the school captain, or even a fresher in 7th class. Like Ayushman pointed out, one of my starkest, most prominent memories of Dr. Singh was during the morning assemblies, where you could hear the footsteps in the hallway as he approached, and everything would go quiet. And then his clear and concise morning prayer and his morning messages, his crisp white uniform, and his infallible diction. Despite his perfectly starched outward appearance and his penchant for discipline, when I returned from an exchange program in England at the Wellington College, I mentioned in passing that my favorite part about the school was that it was in 11th and 12th classes. And he immediately responded, yes, of course, girls are there to fall in love with. It was then in my final 2 years in Scindia when I truly experienced Dr. Singh's humor and his affection, when he became more of a mentor and counselor than a headmaster that we admired and feared from afar. In 11th class, as a couple of people already mentioned, he was very involved in directing and being involved in the production of plays. So we did a play by Harold Pinter, which was a humorous play. And during the final performance, there is a punchline where I was playing a doctor, and the doctor says to a husband who's brought his wife in because she's mute, he said, "Why would you want to cure a wife who is dumb?" And as soon as I delivered the punchline, there was such an uproarious laughter from Dr. Singh's chair that it stopped me mid-dialogue to see what had happened. And, he had almost fallen off his chair. This is the kind of interaction that I grew to know of him in the later years. And some of that fear and that wall between the student and the principal subsided in the last 2 years when I was there. In my final years, I also saw him more deeply and closely about how much he cared about the development of the students, because I closely watched him while attending dinners and lunches in his house, while participating in school events, and how much he cared about who was doing, how he was doing, different students in my batch, different class members, different people in other houses. And I got to know exactly how deeply he was invested in how children were developing in the school. It is indeed with great loss, great sense of loss, that I extend my condolences to his family, his friends, and indeed his extended family in the form of teachers and students at the Scindia School. We have indeed lost one of the finest educators in the Indian public school system. May his soul rest in peace. Thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this congregation.
Thanks, Kunal. Thank you very much. So friends, we have Karam Khanna, who was in Dr. Singh's last year at school, which was 1994. Karam was the school captain. Would love to hear from him. How was Dr. Singh's exit in that year and how these students felt? And then we will have, open house. Neeraj, we will have you after Karam is done, so that there are other people also. We'll have a few extra minutes. So let's have Karam. Karam, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Please, over to you.
Good morning, good evening to everybody present. First off, I would like to extend my condolences to Dr. Singh's family, and of course his extended families at Doon and Scindia schools. As Rajiv said, I was the last appointed school captain in Dr. Singh's tenure. It was the honor of my high school years to not only be appointed school captain, but also be responsible for when Dr. Singh announced that he would be retiring from the school. The retirement was a shock to all of the students. We weren't expecting it, but then befitting of the man that he was and the service that he'd provided to the school in all these years and where he'd grown it from, to achieve high heights. We all got together and we had a council to say what would be a good send-off for this person. So we had, speeches and a night evening prepared. And Mr. Bedi, at the time, who was the housemaster of Ranaji House, he said there is a tradition in the army that when somebody announces their retirement, all the people under that brigadier or commander or captain, when they sit in their car, the car is attached to ropes and you wheel them out with the strength of your arms. So it was Mr. Bedi's idea to have that be a befitting, send-off for Dr. Singh. We had the ceremony at the swimming pool and his car was parked there. And as soon as the ceremony and the speeches concluded, Dr. Singh got in his car with Mrs. Singh And all of us boys, grabbed the ropes, and with cheers of, hip hip hooray, we dragged, pushed, and pulled the car from the swimming pool to his residence in the school. I feel he was very touched by that one gesture that we'd come up with. And if he was here today, I mean, the second thing I'd like to say, it's my honor to also be a part of this send-off for him, on his onward journey to the afterlife. And if he was present today to see the wonderful tributes that everybody has said, I think you'd be equally touched. And I thank Rajiv and everybody that reached out, people that, I haven't spoken to Rajiv since I graduated, to organize this, because I think for a man of his stature and the effect that he had on all our lives, this is such a befitting tribute. And again, it is an honor to be a part of it, just like I was when he announced his retirement. So with that, I would like to just wish him well on his onward journey. I'm sure he will be missed by one and all. And in closing, the two things that I really learned from him that I carry on to this day is leading my life with grace, because that's something that I picked up with with working with him. I've never seen him, lose his cool or react to a situation that did not, warrant any over-the-top reaction. He was always very level-headed, a great decision maker, and as Banjul said, a very diplomatic in his proceedings as well. And the second thing is he had, at one incident where I believe some kids had run down to the city and come up and they were in trouble, and Dr. Singh and I had a conversation about it. And he says, it's not a big deal, it is good mischief. And those two words have really stuck with me in my life, in the definition of what good mischief is. So I think he imbibed that in saying, we got to live all our lives with grace and make sure we have a dose of good mischief along the way as well. Again, thank you, Rajiv, and everybody else. It was great to be a part of this congregation with teachers, seniors, and everybody else. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Karam. That was very nice. I was talking to Mr. Praveen Singh, Dr. Singh's son, and he told me a very interesting story. One, I'll just share it. So when Mother of Scindia had asked Dr. Singh that, would you like to extend your tenure? He said no. So later on, he told him, I have one good news for you and one bad news for you. So Dr. Singh said, what is that? So Mr. Mr. Scindia said that the good news is that I have accepted your, tenure end or whatever it is. And the bad news is that I have accepted a position in Doon School's board, and now I'm a member of the board of Doon School. So whenever I'm in Dehradun, I'll make it a point to bother you and ask you. And he did that whenever he went to attend the Doon School board meeting. He used to go to Dr. Singh, discuss the school issues, and then only he used to return back. So thank you very much, Karam. Now we will move to the open forum. So I have Jiten Muchal on the screen. Jiten Muchal, has served for many years the SOBA president for North America, brought all the Scindians together when I was living in Boston, did the first way back in 2005. He took us all to Niagara. A great Scindian, real Scindian spirit flows in him. So over to you, Muchal, and then Neeraj, I'll have you. And also Mitul, I think you had asked me, so, be in line, and also Mohit, so, and if there's anybody else, I want to complete this event on time, provided, you all allow me to extend it by a few minutes, because believe me, I was the MC for 5 years from 8th standard to 12th standard of the Founders Day. And every time I used to work with Dr. Singh, and he used to say, Rajiv, ensure that we finish the event on time. So I would like to do that. So over to you, Muchal.
Thank you, Rajiv. And good evening, everybody. I'm actually in Indore sitting in a car, so please pardon the background or whatever. I've attended some part of it. I did not listen through the whole thing. But what stands out about Dr. Singh, in addition to all the great things that have been said, that he brought a very interesting mix of class and the Indianness to the public school. Because I think as much as the Indianness or connected to the roots that we profess in public schools and which India is very proud of, everything that Dr. Singh did, right from coming into the assembly and his stature and the way he conducted the assembly or the events, the way he gave us, many of us are here that were together at that time, the chance to interact with the high and mighty people of India in such comfortable surroundings and giving us the confidence. So I think that, and his interactions with parents, his interactions, of course, with, Madhurao and all we saw, that was it. To me at least, I got to learn that, okay, how can you mix a sense of class and also your regular touch at the same time. I was actually very, I'm thankful to only Dr. Singh for being in Scindia, because he got me admitted in class 9th. So it was an admission that happened in the month of July. Somebody, reached out to Madhurao, and then Dr. Singh took my test and he said that, look, there are no chances I'll take you, but somehow the test numbers were okay and I got in. Also, one incident that definitely stands out in my memory and I will always remember for life, and some of us here will also, that I really flunked and made the school look the baddest possible in the Platinum Jubilee debate at Scindia School, where I forgot my debate after 2 minutes. And everybody is looking at the 1,000 students are looking, and I don't remember what happened. But I realized that after that incident also, Dr. Singh directly never said anything to me. I got messages from Mr. Dheer and from Mr. Bhardwaj and other people, and of course, my friends here who were along with me that day. But he never directly said anything. Yes, I did also realize that I lost one brownie point in his mind from that day onwards in his books. But then he allowed me to, carry on from there. A great person, really an image that you would associate with Scindia School, and all of us. And I think many of us were actually happy to be in his best period in Scindia School. His coordination with the senior teachers, his coordination with some of the school prefects, Partho, and people below before him, Rohit Sipai Malani, was an act to be really learning from. So, as Tiwari ji said, we should celebrate the life. No condolences. Hats off to Dr. Singh. Thank you, Rajiv, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Neeraj, can we have you? Neeraj Yadav.
Thanks, Rajiv. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, because सिंह साहब ही वो अकेले प्रिंसिपल थे जिनको हमने बचपन से 12th पास करने तक देखा था. इसलिए as I agree with Mr. Malhotra that we have no other comparison. So I would just like to say, when I got this news of his passing away, I only thought of, जो मेरे दिमाग में एक तस्वीर आई, वो एक तस्वीर थी of a person who was in a spotless white safari suit and moving into the corridors from his office, going to the assembly hall. और जो दूसरी चीज उस समय जहन में आई वो थी the roaring engine of a blue Fiat coming out of his house. And if we were late for the assembly, we were so scared of him and his Fiat that we would hide behind some bushes because we were late for the assembly. We didn't want to come in front of his car or make him notice us getting late for the assembly. So that was the kind of aura he carried. मैं राजीव उनके लिए सिर्फ कुछ लाइनें बोलना चाहता हूं. It goes like this. तुम्हारी शख्सियत से सबक लेंगी ये नई नस्लें. तुम्हारी शख्सियत से सबक लेंगी ये नई नस्लें. वही मंजिल पे पहुंचा है जो अपने पांव चलता है. कई तो मिटा देते हैं नाम तक खानदानों के और किसी के नाम से मशहूर होकर गांव चलता है. So that is the towering personality he was. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Neeraj. बहुत बहुत अच्छा बोला, बहुत ही खूब बोला, बहुत बहुत दिल से बोला. Thank you. We will have Mitul. Mitul, are you there? Mitul Dixit, Mr. Rohan Dixit's son, obviously had great relationships, lived in Madhav House. Mitul, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you, Rajiv, for giving this opportunity. And a lot has been said about Dr. Singh. Two incidents which I would like to share. One, that the preceding batches, he taught English to grade 12th. And from the preceding batches, we heard that he would finish off the grade 12th syllabus. I mean, his teaching would end at this chapter from the English literature, The Sinking of the Titanic. And there used to be a phrase over there, be British. And what that meant was, starting from everything which talked about being an absolute gentleman. The biggest crime at the school was walking out in bathroom slippers from the houses, which, Amitabh and Rajiv both would be able to understand, because Madhavas was right in front of the principal's residence. I'm glad that I get to speak after Neeraj, because there was this incident in the late 80s. My father belonged to a small town called Itawa, and we had Mulayam Singh Yadav, late Mulayam Singh Yadav, as our next door neighbor. And he requested, knowing my father, he requested him to get admission at Scindia School for Akhilesh, his son, the former Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh. So my father approached Dr. Singh for Akhilesh Yadav's admission. And it so happened that my father would generally not recommend any admissions. So he went and he said, Dikshit ji, aap generally recommend nahi karte hain admissions, but please give me some time, and I'm sure I'll be able to accommodate your recommendation. And it so happened that June ke mahine mein, just before the school would have reopened in the month of July, India Today में एक back page आता था जिसमें कि they used to cover these stories and pictures where India's growing mafia में Mulayam Singh Yadav की photograph आई. So Dr. Singh called my father immediately and told him that Mr. Dixit, I had committed to admitting Akhilesh, but would you like him to be admitted at the Scindia School? And my father told him that, it's your decision whether you want to admit Akhilesh or not. It so happened that Mulayam Singh chased my father, asking him about, why Akhilesh was not admitted to the Scindia School. And my father could have not told him the reason for his not being admitted at Scindia. And he knew the principal military school. Mr. Dixit, you might have felt bad that Akhilesh was not admitted, but agar ye Scindia School mein hota to kya hota? So these are two incidences, two memories which I have of about Dr. S.D. Singh, a great man, so much to learn from, and as everybody said, he lived his life to the fullest, and his contribution is something, to our own lives, is something, which we would always remember. Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Mitul. Thank you for bringing out Mr. Dixit's memories too. So next, I think Mohit Suri, you wanted to say something. Are you around? Mohit? Yes. So, because we'll be now wrapping up after this.
Mohit, you're muted. Mohit, unmute yourself.
Thank you, Rajiv. A lot has been said about Dr. Singh, and I agree with Mr. Tiwari. It's a time to celebrate his life. I won't say much about Dr. Singh, but just a few incidences that I had with with Dr. Singh. I would just like to share them today. First was when we got admitted into Scindia School. Probably the first Sunday he had a breakfast for us, and there were 17, 18 of us, and he asked us who all are homesick. 3, 4 of us got up and we stood up and he said, we are homesick. He said, don't worry, this winter break, you won't be going home. You are sick of your homes. So I'll make sure you stay back with the class 12 boys for their winter camps. So that broke the ice. Another incident I remember, Ayushman was here a few moments ago. I remember when Ayushman was appointed the school captain, and he was sick both for the 26th January and the 15th August parade. And I happened to be with Dr. Singh for some exchange program that time. And he was so furious. My school captain is always sick. I'd never seen Dr. Singh talk so friendly with a boy. That was my first occasion. And another occasion I remember was when I had to leave Madhav House and go to JJ House. I was pestering Dr. Singh to go to JJ House as my friends were there. And somehow Mr. Dheer was not keen to take on me. So Dr. Singh asked me, go to any other house, why only JG? Give me one good reason. So I told him, sir, that is the only way I can get the efficiency. So he burst into laughter and he made sure that I went to JG. And I spoke to Dr. Singh 5 years, I think in 2019 or 2020. And he remembered these incidents. Probably that time he was 94 or 95. So I have a very good memories with Dr. Singh. And Dr. Singh, as we grow up, Dr. Singh was the first principal I knew, and that bar was so high that I could never compare any other principal with Dr. Singh. His memories will always with me. Thank you, Rajiv.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Just wanted to show, Sumant wanted to say a few words. So Sumant, you're the last speaker. We are late by 10 minutes, so let's wrap it up.
So
go ahead.
Hello, everyone. The first thing that I would like to mention about Dr. Singh, and a word which comes to our mind and should come to our mind, is the father figure. The father figure that he has been to all of us, especially for me from 84 to 94, junior school days, even in those 3rd class to 6th class, the amount of interaction that we had with Dr. Singh, right from his first address to the new boys, all of us together in that big assembly hall, to the last day, as Karam rightly pointed out, and remembering that incident where we were pulling his car. It was a celebration. It was a celebration. We were just all across the things. So these are the two things which comes to my mind. First thing is the editor part. As a student coming from a Hindi laureate family, आपको हिंदी पढ़ने की जरूरत नहीं, आप इंग्लिश में अगर आर्टिकल लिख सकते हैं तो बताइए. And Atmaram Sharma used to take my stories, poems to him, and he would, nahi. If he writes in English, then I'll publish in the school review. And getting something published in the school review was amazing. So in class 7th, after 4-5 months, in the month of October, I wrote a poem in English, which was all frustration and everything, and gave it to Dr. Atmaram Sharma ji, ki sir, I'm sure he will not allow this. Took it, he did some edits, sends it back with his red ink, and says, if you continue writing in English, you can have both the languages. And eventually, that is one thing which pushed me towards English, coming from Hindi and all about Hindi. And the second thing was, I was a very lean, popularly known in school as Haddi. Still, a lot of my seniors, juniors remember me as Haddi. Every time he used to meet me, he used to ask me, how are you doing? Other than studies, everything. How are you doing in sports? Did you win that group? Did you win that match? And every finals when he used to come and watch us play, even for the school team when we used to play, the words of encouragement like a father figure. So in the end, with one thing that that he mentioned was the father figure thing, and with all the seniors and the teachers already conveying everything, the statement that comes to my mind, which he used to often quote, was to change is to improve, and to be relevant is to change often. So with those words, thanks a lot for this opportunity. Really appreciate. Thanks, Rajiv.
Thank you. Thank you, Suman. Thank you very much. So we are just concluding this session. I'll probably take 2 minutes more. Before I move to the next session, I would like to show you one picture, which probably nobody in the school has seen so far. Very interesting picture. Mr. Dheer asked me to get this picture from Mr. Praveen Singh, and I requested him to send it. He did send it. So, Aparajita, can we have that picture? So this is, I think the school teachers would remember, Scindia School teachers, there was a fancy dress competition and Dr. Singh was dressed as Sheikh. Any one of you? Let's go to the next slide. So with these words, I do want to thank my daughter here. She helped me out. She was a big support in making the videos and everything. I would like to thank Mr. Praveen Singh for sharing so many things. He shared some pictures. All the early life pictures were shared by Praveen Singh, sir. Mr. Mahesh Gandhi was very kind to share some of his pictures, and obviously we heard from him. I got the agenda run by Mr. Tiwari, right? So I said that you need to take a look at it. I hope I'm maintaining the protocols and so on and so forth. So thank you for that. A big thanks to Mr. Upadhyay, SN Upadhyay. He also sent me some interesting pictures, which I had included. Very big thanks to Mrs. Syria. Mrs. Syria is Mr. Syria's wife. Obviously, Mr. Syria was our teacher at our time. And I wanted to actually have some sound bites of Dr. Singh. I wanted one of the assembly prayers to be, played here. Unfortunately, she could not get it. We were looking at all the VHS cassettes and all, but she did get me the pictures from the archives. So big thanks to Syria madam for that. I reached out to Pitambar. I said, we need a message from our chairman board of governors, His Highness Jyotiraditya Scindia. And he could just get it in a day's time. So big thanks to Pitambar. And obviously a big thanks to the Doon School folks. They could, share things, and we could get his house captain, we could get his people. So thanks, a big thanks to them. And lastly, big thanks to all the teachers, all my seniors, my batchmate, my juniors who have shared, took out time. And when I called up Karam Khanna said, I told him that it will be a little early in the morning for you. And he said that even if it is at 3 a.m. in the morning, if it is Dr. Singh's memorial, I will join it. So that is what Dr. Singh has left behind. He had an aura around him, radiating wisdom and peace. Dr. Singh's legacy will remain as a testament to his dedication, vision, and the positive influence he had on the lives of countless students and teachers like us. So big thanks. I have a last video that I'm playing where you will see Dr. Singh, and a song that we all will relate to, because this was a song that was played during our era. Can you play that, Aparajita? Or... So I think that's all we had. This was the song which was very popular in the 80s and early 90s, which we all heard while we were there. So big thanks to everyone for joining this event, celebration of the life of Dr. S.D. Singh, 1925 to 2023, 98 years of glorious service and teaching. Thank you very much, and looking forward to seeing all of you on the 125th Founders Day. Thanks a lot. Have a good night. And
Thank you, Rajiv.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajiv.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Great job done, Rajiv. Great job from you. And special thanks to Aparajita.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
So it
Thanks a
seems
lot,
so
Rajiv.
normal, like we have reached the age of 50 when our kids start helping us.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, sir. Thanks.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks. And also a big thanks to Gokhale Institute of Political Science. The Vice Chancellor was kind enough to give us his conference room. So thanks to Mr. Dr. Ranade, Ajit Ranade. He's an
Thank you.
economist here. Thanks a lot. Thank you, sir.